Next month at the Halo Championship Series, it seems all but confirmed we're going to be getting a glimpse of the future of Halo. Whether that's the Combat Evolved remake, a multiplayer title, or the next mainline entry, we don't really know. Before that though, I wanted to go back to Halo Infinite in what will be the swan song to the Slipspace engine, with Halo Studios now working on Unreal Engine 5, to see how is it in 2025. I replayed the campaign, plunged into the multiplayer, and had a gander at what shenanigans could be cooked up in Forge. For context, the release of Halo Infinite's multiplayer are some of my fondest memories in the past few years of video games. Unfortunately, what followed was delays, unfulfilled promises, wasted potential, and that familiar feeling once again that 343 did not hit the heights required for a franchise that so many of us hold dear. Since then, the game has added content with a capital C, many requested modes and maps and weapons, tools for the fans to get stuck in and craft their own experience, and an ever-evolving multiplayer sandbox that's just as fun as the opening day was. I don't think Halo Infinite has ever been a bad video game. I think what's frustrated many is that it was once again a case of nearly. Halo 4 had a terrific campaign with a lackluster multiplayer, and Halo 5 had an awful campaign with a great multiplayer. Halo Infinite finally got the balance right, delivering a great campaign and multiplayer, but didn't have the content to capitalize on either. So, in 2025, did 343 finish the fight with Halo Infinite, or is it once again a case of the nearlies? This is my final verdict on Halo Infinite. First thing I had to go back to was Infinite's campaign. At launch, I thought this got back to the core of what I enjoyed about Halo campaigns. Chief, Cortana, a Halo ring, and a greater mystery that lies beyond that. Halo Infinite was a dramatic departure from Halo games that have come before, in that this was the first true open world Halo game. We've had big open areas, but this was the first one to go truly open world. At launch, I was all about it. Hunted down every elite target, collected every audio log, saved every Marine squad, the full shebang. And to this day, it remains a lot of fun given the sandbox we're able to play around with in Infinite with the grapple hooks, the dodges, and the new arsenal of weapons. However, I still think Infinite was at its best when it's just doing the traditional, linear Halo levels. The big set pieces, the more intimate corridors, or fighting your way through a spaceship as it's about to explode. One of Infinite's biggest problems without doubt was the lack of biome diversity in its campaign. Infinite still looks great on a fidelity front, but it's also very repetitive in what you see, and it makes it harder for areas to be more memorable in the same way that we have those iconic locations from past Halo games. I do think though, this game was primed for co-op campaign, and when that finally dropped, admittedly, I had a lot of fun taking on the big banished bases with friends, because of how 343 gave you the license to just fuck shit up. After finishing the campaign up again, I think going forward, I'm not sure Halo should be an open world. If I think about all the best parts of Halo Studios' tenure, it's those missions that are linear, but have more open zones than anything. I think a good inspiration would be what id Software did with Doom the Dark Ages, of straight up linear missions and then some bigger zones with more things going on. I think a good example of that even lies within Halo Infinite's campaign itself with the Pelican Down mission. I'm just not of the belief that the elite enemies or the banished bases or the Marine squads to save really take Halo to that next level, and I think they'd be best saved for a Spartan Ops or Firefight. Those more open zones would also be a natural pathway into including the Spartan cores that were here for Chief's upgrades for his grapple hook or his thrusters or the threat sensor that help deliver an element of progression in a very satisfying way, especially when you get to chain them together. When I think about the sheer amount of open world games we have now, I'm not sure Halo should be trying to compete on that front. But I'm also self-aware. This is me as an annoying Halo fan since I first became obsessed playing 2 on the Xbox for the very first time. Put the open world stuff to the side, I really like the core of the campaign here. Some of my favourite Master Chief moments lie here in Halo Infinite.
We all fail. We all make mistakes. It's what makes us human.
I'm sorry, Chief, but how have you ever failed?
I should have protected Cortana. Stopped everything from going wrong. I failed her.
I think Halo has always been at its best with that smaller cast to focus on. The weapon and the pilot, I thought have interesting enough arcs to go on, but really, they help get back to focusing on the Chief, and that's why the campaign was great. I loved how they opened with Atriox just battering the shit out of Chief, and it delivered that oh boy moment because we're not accustomed to seeing that. Steve Downes as well, just phenomenal here. Those moments of vulnerability when exposed to the remnants of Cortana are so well done, and that scene towards the end is just really excellent as a longtime Halo fan. I think Escharum was also a major highlight of the campaign. His constant monologues to the Chief and wanting to go out in that big blaze of glory helped make this quite intimate rivalry between him and Chief. The campaign was a lot of fun to go back to, but it also kinda dug the knife in. How this game didn't get any kind of campaign expansion is nothing but another wasted opportunity. I mean, I don't care whether it dealt with that post-credit scene with Atriox or was simply just a new biome with new bases to take on or another contingent of the Banished forming. Whether we got a snowy biome or more of that desert biome we see at the very end there. I just wanted something because the game is that much fun, it deserves it. Still, despite that wasted opportunity, Halo Infinite remains a return to form with its campaign, and I think where it promises to go with the Endless gets me very excited again for the first time since we discovered the Flood, and the mystery and the horrors that might await there. I hope it's something that's continued because they finally piqued my interest again on the storytelling front. One of the staple modes of Halo since it first debuted in 3 is Halo's Forge mode. Forge came to Halo Infinite nearly a full year after release. And I don't think I'm wrong in saying that had this shipped with Infinite at launch, we'd all be looking at Halo Infinite in a completely different manner. User-generated content is only growing in video games when you look at games like Fortnite and Roblox that are actively pushing it, and I'd wager you'll see a massive push when GTA 6 Online rolls out too. My heyday of Halo Forge came in Halo Reach, where me and my secondary school mates would build these big maps to fly across and bases to fight on, and just wage warfare and make our own storytelling. Infinite's Forge is another level. It is absolutely incredible. I thought to myself, alright, we'll see what fun maps people have made. Nah mate, this shit is bonkers. I'm talking Mario Kart tracks to race on, recreations of iconic video game franchise locations to fight in arena maps, but also fully fledged modes. I'm talking Red Light Green Light from Squid Game is feature complete, and it's incredible that 343 have gave those kind of capabilities out to the fans to create these kind of experience. There's such a variety of activities here that you've got what acts like raids where you can have 16 players up against all the bosses on legendary difficulty, all the way to what I consider crafted campaign missions with objectives and boss fights and specifically scoped out arenas. This is all stuff that I found in custom games, but a lot of Forge generated content has also made its way into the actual multiplayer playlists themselves, whether that's recreations of iconic Halo maps or just straight up well designed maps by fans. On the one hand, you have to be critical of 343 that such an integral feature was absent for nearly a year into this game's lifespan. On the other hand, you have to commend the amount of support that they've given to Forge and enabled the creativity of the players. It goes without saying that the next mainline Halo game has to have this, either right at launch or in the launch window, because this is the kind of content that can carry a game, and I have no doubt that we'd be looking at Infinite's launch in a different manner had it been there. Which brings us to the multiplayer. Halo Infinite's multiplayer was top tier at launch. It's the kind of fun sandbox that generated those viral clips of grappling onto a Banshee in midair or repulsing a rocket back at the enemy. The hype on that shadow drop was immense. I mean, the Discord that I was in at the time had a record number of people all trying to get on at the same time and do big team battle. And it stayed like that for a couple of weeks before it all started to really dawn that The gameplay foundations of a long-lasting multiplayer were there, but the content wasn't. A first season that would last 6 months called Heroes of Reach, a battle pass that was just so poorly tweaked in the challenges it forced, and no way to earn XP for simply playing. No other forms of progression, and minimal customization for your Spartan. At the start, 343 tried to use Infinite's multiplayer as an extension of its main narrative, having a cutscene play once or twice per season with some kind of seasonal storytelling. And look, it was always cool to see a Spartan in this high fidelity cutscene, but truthfully, it was never really that exciting until right at the end when they stopped doing it entirely. As for the suite of content available now, it is almost overwhelming in that there is such a breadth of experiences here. For the sweaty boys and girls, you've got your different SKUs of ranked, but then casuals, you've got your classics, you've got your Slayer, Tactical Slayer, your Halo staples with Oddball, Griffball. But then what I really like about Infinite is that it's not shying away from the weird and wonderful. They've just added Falcons back into the game, and there's this mode of every team gets given a Falcon, and you're all contesting one flag in the middle, and you've got to fly your Falcon in there, get one of your teammates to grab the flag, bring it back, and score a point. And it is chaos, but it's beautiful chaos. And it's not the first time that on paper they've added very weird and dumb stuff, but it's such a fun game to play. Freshly cooked, Infinite has just brought back a favourite of mine from Reach, Invasion, with its latest update, Operation Warpath. And yeah, I have nothing else to say except it's really good to be playing it again. When they've brought back fan favourite modes and maps, but given them that Halo Infinite spin, they feel really inspired players to get stuck into, especially given how they fit into the Halo Infinite sandbox. Whilst the scope of support is certainly slowing down for Infinite, it is still very much pumping out meaningful additions to the game. The variety and experiences, I always think, is so important in an arena game like that, because not only will you attract more players by having such a breadth of things to get stuck into, but it keeps things fresh for those that do stick around long term. A problem that Halo obviously encountered with that rough launch period. So, what's really changed? There's been an onslaught of maps added, as I said, from both 343 and fan-made maps, that simply scrolling through the list available is quite staggering really, and there's a great diversity of maps there too. There's the addition of many new guns like the Bandit, the MA5K carbine, new equipment, vehicles, and obviously a lot of modes as I mentioned before. Some that are very much your traditional shooter arena, and some that are very much on the party side of things. And that's not all that's changed. They've also added Spartan points. These are just earned by regularly playing the game. They're free and they can be used in the exchange section of the store. They can be traded for seasonal gear of the past that you may have missed out on, or some one-off armor that may hold significance, whether that's nostalgia or it just looks fucking sick. Which brings us to Halo's armor, the core system. At first, I kind of liked Halo's core system. Having different armor sets per core was cool, and I liked the idea of having loadouts to switch between. But in the end, it left just really basic looking armor per core, that the uniqueness from Spartan to another who is adapting that same core wasn't really there. They've done some great work since, with many armor pieces now being cross-core, alongside colour sets now applying to all cores. It does bring me back to a pain point of Infinite though. I am pretty stubborn about my viewpoint when it comes to free-to-play games, in that majority of the time I don't like the model. Whilst it's great that many get to play and experience these games, I think as a result they often feel so shallow. Regardless of being in first person, an integral aspect of the Halo fantasy has always been its customization of your Spartan. I also recognise that this might be the old Halo head inside of me talking here, but when you once saw blue flaming shoulders, you recognise that someone had done something very cool to get that, or they'd really put the hours in. As a result of going free to play, Infinite has often put all the best armor in the store, or maybe at the tail end of a battle pass. Look, I am not stupid. Support for a live service game requires funds, and therefore microtransactions. But I do think Halo's store economy is egregious. The battle pass has always been decent value, and I'll talk a little bit about challenges in a moment, but as I look at the armor I've earned and just how much has come and gone in the shop, I would prefer if Halo's next multiplayer iteration went down a different monetary route. I can't help but look beyond Helldivers 2 and think that's the model. Have a way to earn more premium currency in game, and then have the armor pieces and at an affordable price and not the daft prices and bundles I'm seeing here. I can only speak for myself here, but I'm often completely turned off microtransactions if I think the value stinks compared to a game where I think the actual armor prices are a couple of quid and it's fair value. Is Halo Infinite's monetization the worst out there? Absolutely not. In comparison to Marvel Rivals or Overwatch or Splitgate, it's probably on the better end. It really comes back to the legacy of how armor has always been in Halo since the beginning. Battle passes are never going to go away, but I think the store economy needs redoing for the next game. And I won't change my viewpoint, especially given that the customization of your Spartan has always been fundamental to the Halo experience. I will say, however, over time, I think things have got better. Since abandoning traditional seasons, Infinite has switched to operations. And to be fair, I actually don't mind the model here. With each operation will come a pass. In this pass, we'll have 2 premium items which require payment, but then there will also be a 20-tier pass that is free to earn and complete whilst that event is active. Otherwise, you will need to pay for the pass to complete it once it's expired. It creates the good fear of missing out without the actual fear of missing out that means you lose those items forever. There's still a way to get them. So, whilst I'm pretty turned off by the prices in the store, I think the operations gets the trade-off right, especially when you pair that with the addition of the exchange and Spartan points. So in its current state, I'm a bigger fan of its monetization model than I was at launch, given the free offerings through the exchange and operation passes, and as a result, the store comes across that little bit less egregious. Everyone's tolerance for this kind of thing is different though. Speaking of tolerance, my best PvP days are behind me, so it's a giant relief to see my beloved Firefight make its way to Infinite, and it's just as good as I remember it. I love the difficulty tuning, whether that's heroic or legendary. It's just so much fun to play at its core. Then there's also the variation of Gruntpocalypse, of fighting waves and waves of these funny little fuckers. I've always liked Firefight because it's that kind of mode that you can just boot up with a friend and have a catch up while still having a lot of fun. And it's a really natural fit to Halo Infinite here. I've mentioned a few times the variety of experiences in Infinite, and I think it's fair in saying that this is the complete Halo game now in terms of experiences that it has to offer the player. Solo, PvE co-op, casual PvP, ranked PvP, and the custom-made experiences by fans. To go back to the game's progression for a second, I really love the changes made over time to the challenge system. They are a lot more universal now, whether that's a challenge of use a brand of weapons like UNSC, complete or win matches, or cumulative kills. No longer pigeonholing your multiplayer experiences down a certain path of getting one specific challenge medal or one unique weapon needing a kill. It was really bad at launch, but progression is in a smooth spot now, alongside the ability to earn XP per game, which is of course necessary, but should be a commendable change once again. So, the truth is, Halo Infinite has only got better over time. It plays just as well as it did at launch, but with a massive suite of content to experience now. There is still a player base here, though not as big as I think it should be, as sometimes finding matches was quite challenging, but I for one would not be shocked to see a PS5 release for this one in the near future, adding a whole new player base, so hopefully that will benefit it. I think it's fair in saying that a lot of damage has been done to the 343 name over the years in how they've handled this franchise, resulting in a rebrand to Halo Studios and embarking on a new era of Halo with Unreal Engine 5. But it should be stated that Halo Infinite is a genuinely great Halo game, just one that took too long to fulfill its potential. A strong campaign that managed to rectify many of Halo 5's wrongdoings and get us back to what many of us love about Halo. But unfortunately, it exists as a one and done project despite the excitement of that post-credit tease or the opportunity of new story points to expand on its great sandbox and fantastic co-op shenanigans. A multiplayer that genuinely had the opportunity to be remembered as the franchise's best, with small, smart additions that kept the core of a Halo multiplayer but increased both the spectacle and the fun. The decision not to delay Infinite once again can only be looked back as a disastrous one on Xbox's behalf, because with a fully fledged Forge mode, more stability in its content cadence post-launch, I think Halo Infinite would be one of the big players when it comes to the big dogs of multiplayer offerings in 2025. Still, this is a content-rich, endlessly replayable Halo experience. There's been major shakeups at Halo Studios since Infinite dropped, and I think necessary change in that. For as much as I want it to, I'm not sure that Halo will be the juggernaut we remember it was during the Bungie days. But seeing Infinite now, if given the time, I do think there is cause for optimism for the future of Halo from Halo Studios. Halo Infinite in 2025 is the complete Halo package we've waited for since Reach. Let me know, what do you think of the state of Infinite in 2025, and what are your expectations with what's going to be announced at the Halo Championships? I'm really interested to hear your thoughts on this one. If you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate the like or hype or whatever helps. If you don't know by now, sci-fi games, we cover them. News, reviews, guide streams, the full shebang, so consider subscribing. I hope you have a terrific day. Play games, get gains, and I will catch you in the next one.